I'm Dave.
And I'm Rob.
And welcome to The List Makers, a spin-off podcast from The Doctor Who Show, where we make lists and chat about them. Top 5 lists, to be specific. And our top 5 list this month comes from listener Steve F747. Do you think he likes planes, Rob?
I think he might.
I think he might. And the topic for this month is top 5 classic seasons.
Yes, it's December, Dave. 'Tis the season, and we're going to talk about seasons, so that seems appropriate.
Oh, well done, Rob.
Thank you very much.
Done.
Thank you very much.
This was a tough topic because I went and put down my number 1 straight away. I put down my number 2 not long after it. And then I had a number to choose from, and I agonised at length over this list. I moved things up and down. I shuffled stuff out. I shuffled stuff in. And I ended up where I am. And I'm still not entirely happy. And I've got a number of sort of also-rans that could have been on the list for us to discuss. Rob, I am looking at my list. There is one here. I'm putting a star next to it now because I am very confident we will snap on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, look, I reckon that one's going to be on Rob's list, but the other 4, crikey, I'm not sure I know where he's going to go.
I reckon we can get 3.
Look, we might, we could.
And in fact, I'm going to stick my neck out and say, I look at my list and think Dave could pick all of these.
Rob could pick all of these as well, but I don't know that he will.
Okay.
And I think there's a few others that he might. I don't look. We are speculating, and why should we do that when we could just find out in the next 10 minutes whose lists are what?
Make your list, Dave.
I will make my list. At number 5, I agonised about this last pick considerably. There were several that could have gone on there, but in the end, I have gone for season 14.
Mm-hmm.
We are in the classic Hinchcliffe Tom era. We are saying farewell to Liz Sladen, welcome to Louise Jamieson via a non-companion story. And I just looked at the stories here. Mandragora, classic historical. Deadly Assassin, brilliant. The Day That God Went... The Face of Evil. Another classic Boucher story. Robots of Death, it's in my top 5, 10 Doctor Who stories of all time. The Talons of Weng Chiang, really, really good. Is there some recency bias? Because only a few months ago I watched a couple of these stories. Look, maybe, but as I looked at the other options around, I just thought, pound for pound, I reckon this is the best season in that part of the show. When the weakest story is Hand of Fear, that says a lot about the consistency of a season. So number 14.
Great.
Number 4, I have gone with season 21. This is not a perfect season. In fact, there's a couple of stories in here I'm not a fan of. I will say up front, I think the Twin Doll Emery is terrible, and I don't much like The Awakening either. But other than those two, it is really, really strong. But I think it is elevated, dare I say, the whole season is more than the sum of its stories because of their feeling across it. This is the point where Davo has hit his stride. Janet Fielding has hit her stride. Mark Strickland just came in and hit his stride from the moment he walked into J&T's office and said, hey, you want to cast me? You know, Eric Saywood knows what he wants to do at this point. He's had a year to get his feet under the desk, and now he knows what he wants to do. J&T absolutely is the master of his craft and probably at the height of his powers at this point. And you just have really strong stories. I love Warriors of the Deep. Frontios is brilliant. Resurrection's great. Planet of Fire, my favourite Davo. And The Caves of Bloody Androzani. This is a great season. It could have been in my top 3.
Very nice.
Number 3, I went with a Hartnell season. Again, I ummed and ahed about which Hartnell season, but I went pound for pound and went with season 2. This has got the Dalek invasion of Earth, which I think is fantastic. The Rescue, we regularly opine about how much we both love The Rescue. The Romans, which is tragic, witty, so well made. The Web Planet, not perfect, but the ambition, Rob, the ambition. The Chase, lots of fun, lots of ambition. The Time Meddler, a strong finish. It's probably got my favourite TARDIS team of the Doctor, Ian, Barbara and Vicky. And dare I say, season 21 at pick number 4, the Doctor, Tegan Turlo, also a great TARDIS team. So there's so much to just say about how good these seasons are. Mm-hmm. Into my top 2, Rob. These were the easier picks and probably the predictable ones. Those who've known me a long time will say that. Number 2, I've got season 18. This is just Doctor Who so well made, and Doctor Who with a drier, science fiction-y banter that just appeals to me. It's my style of Doctor Who. I love what Christopher H. Bidmead and Barry Letts were doing here. As produced by J&T, he's just coming with all the energy of a new young producer wanting to make his mark. It looks fantastic. The cast is fantastic. You get dry, somber Tom Baker, and that's wonderful. Matthew Waterhouse playing off Tom Baker, I think is great. Lalla Ward, fantastic. The end of K9, which is good. But how many of these stories just look brilliant, are made brilliantly, great conceits. I could watch this again and again and again. I think season 18 stands up. I love it. Number 1, Rob, what have I got?
Mm-hmm. I know what you've got.
Well, come on, what have I got?
You got season 7.
I've got season 7. Everybody knew that. No apologies for it. I love it. I love it. It's my childhood favourite Doctor. It's my favourite companion. It's 3 10 out of 10 stories and a 9.5. Spearhead, Silurians, Ambassadors, and Inferno. Wow. Such great production, such energy, such sci-fi ideas. Pertwee just hitting the Doctor as a wonderful scientist with a bit of arrogance, that alienness, that frustration of being stuck on Earth. 7-parters that really allow the stories to breathe with tangents and subplots. A new and keen production team. In fact, let's face it, 2 new keen production teams, because there are 2 producers across here. Terrence Dix suddenly off the leash and doing what he wants to do. Robert Holmes, Malcolm Holt, David Whittaker, the writers, everything about these seasons is glorious. I love it. It was always going to be my number 1. You knew that. The listeners knew that. I knew that. Let's not pretend. Rob, that's my list.
Well, the spoiler is that we've got 1 snap.
I thought that might be the case, and I reckon I know which one it is.
I think it's pretty obvious which one it is. Let me make my list then, Dave. In at number 5, I've got season 26. Mm-hmm. And this is one where you look at it, Battlefield Ghostlight, Curse of Fenric Survival. Battlefield doesn't really rock my world. I'll say that up front. But Ghostlight, Curse of Fenric Survival is a fantastic run and is just wonderful. And all of that said, Battlefield doesn't poop the bed. It's just not Remembrance of the Daleks. So it's a really solid, great season. I couldn't not have it on the list. So it's in at number 5. In at number 2, I've got season 10. I mean, look at that. 3 Doctors, Carnival of Monsters, Frontier in Space, Planet of the Daleks, The Green Bloody Death, Dave. You know, how solid is that?
Yeah.
That's amazingly solid. So I couldn't go past that. I mean, stories, 3 Doctors is a lot of fun, but things like Carnival of Monsters and Green Death are just bona fide classics.
Yep.
Moving into my number 3 slot, and appropriately, I've got season 3. Which, you know, it starts off with Galaxy 4. Okay, I'll give you that. But then it moves into Mission to the Unknown. I think a couple of months ago on this very show, Dave, you were saying that was one of your favourite episodes of Doctor Who under 4 episodes, Mission to the Unknown.
I did.
We go into the Mythmakers. Come on, the Mythmakers. Dalek's Master Plan. The Massacre. The one that everyone wants to see. The Ark, which I know you love.
I do.
Celestial Toymaker, which I've always quite enjoyed, and it did spawn a modern episode in the Ncuti Gatwa David Tennant era. The Gunfighters, which I think your Gin and TARDIS proved is not the worst Doctor Who out there. You know, it's got some fun to it. Savages, it's interesting, but it's not great. And then the War Machines, which ends with this incredibly modern William Hartnell in modern day London story. Just great. I couldn't not have season 3 in the list somewhere. Which gives us my number 2 and number 1. In at number 2, you said season 14. I'm going with season 13, Dave, because I know you're not a big fan of Planet of Evil, but come on. Zygons, Pyramids of Mars, Android Invasion, Brain of Morpheus, Seeds of Doom.
Yep.
Come on. You know, so season 13 for me, but yeah, season 14 is really bloody good too. I know. And then in at number 1,
we haven't had the snap yet, Rob.
Our snap, Dave. What do you think it is?
It's going to be 21, isn't it?
No.
No. Oh.
No.
Oh, okay. What is it?
It's season 7.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's just a really great season of Doctor Who. And look, I love Davo, but when I look at season 21 and it's got the Collins story at the end, and it does have a couple of ropey stories, it doesn't quite balance out the really good stuff in that season. So I just couldn't find a place for it when I looked at the stories that are in these other seasons. but gosh, it's close. It's very close.
Who would have thought that in this set of lists, you would be the one that doesn't have the Davo?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, look, that's very cool. Now, Rob, I felt some sort of, incredulity coming across the microphones when you realised all the seasons I didn't have on my list. Let me give you my set of runners-up.
Okay.
Season 1, then 13, tick, 26, tick, 10, tick, 3, tick.
Great.
So, look, absolutely, genuinely, every one of the 4 stories you had after season 7 on your list, they were in the mix for mine.
Okay.
And it is really, really hard to pick those last few seasons. I genuinely thought really hard about 13 versus 14. They could both have been in that slot. I thought one of them had to be in that slot. In the end, I just looked at that run of Assassin, Face of Evil, Roberts of the Death Talons, and just gone, I can't not have that. I just cannot have that. And as fond as I am of Android Invasion, it's not great. And I don't like Planet of Evil. But look, they are both really, really strong seasons. And back-to-back, that must have been just an amazing era to live through. I again thought very, very hard about which Hartnell season to have in there. Like you, I could have had season 3, but I just thought there's just a couple of ones that really sort of drop off a bit there that aren't quite as good. But at its peak, it's fantastic. That run of sort of Mythmaker's Master Plan, Massacre arc, I mean, that's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. It's a great run. Season 1 also really, really strong, but I just went with season 2 for being a bit more consistent, having a bit more ambition. Season 26, everything you said about it I agree with, except that I think that Ghostlight is the one that doesn't hold up and Battlefield is. So fair enough. That came very, very close. Look, the thing that just I was reminded of as I did this list was how much I like classic Doctor Who and how many really good seasons there are. I mean, you had season 10, I said when the Blu-ray of that came out. I agree, there is not a dud story in that run. That is 5 very solid, if not classic stories. We haven't even mentioned the Key to Time season. Huge amounts of fun. We haven't mentioned season 11. Huge amounts of fun. There are so many that could have been on this list. We could have done a top 20 and still struggled to leave something out. Let's be honest. So, but look, I've been rambling a bit about my picks. Rob, what about you and what you picked and what I picked?
Well, I didn't do a runners-up list, but if I did, it would have had stuff like season 21 on it, like we've discussed.
Yeah.
It would have had season 18 on it. That season which some see as autumnal, some see as funereal. It's just got a vibe to it. It just stands alone. It's helped because it's the first time Tom gets into that costume, and then he doesn't obviously have any seasons after it. So it's this one season where he looks different to the rest of his era, as well as acting different, and the credits are different, and everything's changed, and it just sits alone in this strange, beautiful place. So I could have had 21 and 18 in the mix as well. So I think, if you threw all our picks in the hat and pulled out 5, I don't think either of us would be disappointed with what was coming out, to be quite honest.
No, any of your 5 I would not be ashamed to have on my list.
Yeah, and likewise, actually.
Yeah.
Which goes to show, I think, yes, our love for the classic era. I do sometimes wonder, though, whether a new person coming to the classic era sees things in the same way, simply not because they're not watching the same thing. Obviously, they are watching the same thing that we watched, but they're not seeing it in the same way. They might be seeing it at a later age in life. We were seeing these when we were very young.
Yes.
They're seeing it versus 20, 30, 40, 50 more years of television that have been made since then that is more modern and perhaps in some ways better constructed or whatever. Do people see things in the same way? Do they perceive them in the same way? I'm not sure that they can or that they would, but at the same time, I can't not look at, say, a season 7 and say to someone, just watch season 7, see how you go, and not think that they're not going to love it.
I often worry that somewhere out there's a parallel universe Dave who came to season 7 at a different time of his life and said, I want to see the Doctor have adventures in space and time, not have adventures on 1970s Earth.
Right.
And perhaps just the whole vibe completely passed that guy by.
And didn't see it repeated ad infinitum on television to really hammer it home.
Yeah, and didn't have the whole, Pertwee being the favourite doctor of the childhood. And so, yeah, you're right. When you encounter these things and how you encounter them, that does have a lasting effect.
Yeah.
Rob, as I put together my list, and I look at your list as well, there are two things that I think the seasons on both of our lists, to a large extent, have in common.
Mm-hmm.
The first is a really strong TARDIS crew. Now, I look at the third Doctor and Liz, the third Doctor and Joe, the fifth Doctor, Tegan and Turlough, the first Doctor, Stephen and Vicky, the first Doctor, Vicky and Eden and Bart. Like, they are all really strong. Fourth Doctor and Liz Sladen, come on.
Sylvester and Ace.
Sylvester and Ace, yeah, exactly. Like, all of them have got really strong TARDIS crews, which I think is a really important dynamic. But most of them also have some sort of theme or vibe or something that carries you through the weaker ones. I look at the individual stories in season 18. There's a couple there that I don't think are great at all. But because of that vibe of where Tom is at the time, where the show is at the time, what Bidmead and Letts are doing at the time, that carries you through the weaker ones and you feel as though the whole is something more. Season 26, Cartmel is absolutely doing something there. That means even if you don't like each individual story, you're being carried through that season because it feels like a full holistic piece of work. The reason why I had season 21 on there and you didn't, because I agree, there are stories in season 21 that I don't rate, and if I did the average mark out of 10 for those stories in season 21, it probably wouldn't be in the top 5 of averages. But because of what's going on in that story, the theme, the tone, the crew, the cast, that carries me through the weaker ones, and I look at it as a whole piece of work as being better than what it is as an individual collection of stories.
Yeah, completely agree with you there. And when we make these lists, little personal preferences that we don't always enunciate fully when we do our lists are in play. We're not always comparing apples and apples with each other because we're coming at these lists with different interpretations in our heads. Yeah.
Yeah, and also interpretations that evolve and grow. If I was making this list at, say, 15, I would have had season 12 on there.
Okay.
Because it was someone I was very familiar with and I loved all the stories. I still love all the stories. If I was making this list at maybe 30, I would probably have had season 13 on there. Making this list at the age I am now, I have season 14 on there because perhaps those drier, darker sort of stories with a bit more thematic stuff like Assassin, like Robots of Death, like The Face of Evil, are the ones that appeal to me just that little bit more now. When I did this list, 20 years ago, season 17 would have been not even in consideration. Now, look, it wasn't in my top 10, but I did pause and think, season 17 is fun and it's doing a particular thing. Could I have it in there? And in the end, the answer was no. But it got more of a consideration now than it would have back in the day.
Like rewatching the first Jodie Whittaker season, I think gets better consideration now than it did when it was going out.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there is that thing where when you're not watching Doctor Who as, oh my God, this needs to be good or the series is going to be cancelled again. When that's removed, you can just watch something and go, well, I know there was another 50 years after this one. So, you can relax and enjoy it. Or sometimes, look, I've said I don't want all of Doctor Who to be like season 18. That would be terrible. But I'm glad that one season of it was like that. I don't want all of Doctor Who to be anything like season 17. But I'm glad that one season was like that. Season 16, I'm glad that exists and does what it wants to do. I don't want them all to be like that, but I'm glad they've had a crack. Yeah,
agree completely.
Well, that was a lot of fun. Far fewer snaps than I perhaps expected. And I was, Jesus, if I would have put $100 on the table if you'd asked me, Rob, that you would have a Davo season on your list. Thank goodness I didn't.
Thank goodness, yeah.
Wow, that's blown me up. I'm not going to sleep today. But it is now time to pull another topic from Turlough's Hat of Rassilon. This one is also coming from a listener. It's coming from a listener called Paul. And the topic is top 5 stories that hit you for nostalgic reasons.
Oh, we'll kick off the new year with some nostalgia.
We will. That's going to be interesting. I think it might lean classic heavy, but maybe not entirely. But we'll see in the new year, Rob. Because until then, I've been Dave.
I've been Rob.
And we'll make some more lists in 2026.
Wow. See ya.
Wow. Goodbye.